Recording. Yes. So in the last lecture, we have started with the concept of workflows. And I have told you few introductory things regarding the workflows. What exactly is the workflow? And we learned this that workflow is a business automation process. And with the help of workflows, we can certainly automate few of the process, few of the actions that we can process it, and we can perform it automatically without any human being to perform that action. Workflow is actually a combination of two entities, the event and the actions. So based on the event, one action is going to be fired. So the firing of the action, it actually depends on the event. If the event occurs, then only action is going to be fired, otherwise not. What are the different types of events? Events are also known as the criteria, evaluation criteria. This is all one and same thing. There are three different kinds of evaluation criteria. There are three different types of events that is created. The second is created and every time it is edited. And the third is created and anytime it is edited, meeting the subsequent criteria. These are the three different types of evaluation criteria. What are the different types of actions? So based on this, how and when this action is going to be fired, there are two things: immediate and the time dependent action. So it's all depend what time we require to fire the responses, what time we need to give the response. So if we, based on the event, if we want to give the response immediately without any periodical interval, then we should select the immediate action. Otherwise, the time dependent action. Now, the kind of actions, the kind of operation that we perform. So based on that, there are four different types of actions. Email alert, we can send the emails automatically with the help of the workflows. Then we can, update a field inside any object. We can assign a new task to a user, and then we can send the outbound messages to the external system with the help of SOAP API and based on the XML messages. So these were what we actually have discussed as an introductory part of the workflows. Now let me take the first use case and let's build up this, let's set up this workflow and understand how does actually workflows are going to work. So let's configure a workflow rule to notify the lead person, to notify the lead person upon creating a new lead record inside the object. So first of all, let's try to understand what the use case is all about. So let me first log in into the org. Yours is 105. So let's first of all understand what exactly, the use case is. According to use case, okay, I don't have lead object over here. Let me first arrange the lead object first. Someone mic is on, please mute yourself. Nikhil, your mic is on here, please mute yourself. So I added this lead over here. So see, what is the use case is that, whenever a new lead record is being entered, whenever I enter a new lead record over here, so we are probably going to supply this email also, So what we want is that on this particular email ID, whatever the email ID is entered over here, whatever the email ID is entered over here. For example, if I'm entering this SFDC, Kasim@gmail.com, and with a few other details, with few other details, if I'm saving this lead record. So as soon as one lead record is being inserted, as soon as one new lead record has been saved, we should fire one email on this particular email ID of the lead person. As Manish is the lead person. For example, we are storing the lead record with the title called as Manish, and this is the mail email ID of the Manish. So this Manish should get one email as an acknowledgement that dear Manish, or could be dear lead record, we actually have stored your record inside the database. Your lead record has been generated, and these are the details that is what we are having for your record. Against your record, we are having these details. This is the mobile number, this is the fax, and all these details. Whatever we have stored inside this, we want these fields to be displayed. We want the values of these fields to be get into this particular email, and as an acknowledgement. That is what we want. So it's a kind of email acknowledgement. What we want to give it automatically as soon as one new lead record has been inserted. So as soon as a new lead record has been inserted, we immediately want to fire one email on the given email ID. This is what your use case. So let me have few homeworks, whatever is required for this. So on which object you are going to create the workflows? I told you yesterday, sorry, not in the yesterday. I told it in the previous lecture that whenever we are creating a workflow, always remember this, that workflows are created on what? Workflows are created on the objects. You need to remember this. Always remember that whenever we are creating the workflows, workflows are always created on any object. So in this case, if you want to solve this use case, on which object you want to create the workflow, we want to create it on the lead object. But what is the use case? Configure a workflow rule. Why? To notify the lead person. Whenever a new lead record has been inserted, so that lead person should be notified. With the help of one email, he should be notified, right? And that is why the object is what? The object is lead record. We are creating this workflow on lead record. Okay. So based on this use case, I came to know that on which object I should create the workflow. I should create it on the lead object. What is the evaluation criteria? Out of 3 criteria, there are 3 criteria: created and every time it is edited, created and any time it is edited, meeting to the subsequent criteria. Out of these 3 evaluation criteria, what should be the criteria I should use over here? See, just read this use case once again and try to get what is the criteria. I mean, what should be the criteria? So you should first read this very carefully. Very carefully you should read this. What the use case is telling you to do. If the use case is telling you to insert as well as update, then we should go for the create and update. But what I see over here, configure a workflow rule. Okay, what? To notify the lead person, that is also okay. Upon what? Upon creating a lead record. Here, what is it mentioned? Upon creating. It is not mentioned like upon creating and updating. If it is like there, if it is like this, creating and updating, then I should go with either second or number 3 criteria. But it's clearly mentioned as soon as a new record has been inserted, a new lead record has been created, inside the object, we should fire this work. And because it is only about inserting, it is only about creating a record. It is never, nowhere in this use case has been mentioned. कहीं से भी ऐसा नहीं पता चल रहा कि it is all about the creating and the updating. So that is why the first rule apply, and we should go with the created only. So the evaluation criteria is created. Now, what is the rule condition? I'll tell you this practically. जब मैं अभी start करूँगा इसको use case पे, तब मैं बताऊँगा. The kind of action we want immediate. We don't want time dependent, because as soon as the lead record has been saved, we should immediately fire one email, है ना? अभी आज लीड क्रिएट किया, परसों उसको एक्नॉलेजमेंट देगा, उसमें क्या फायदा? आज ट्रांजैक्शन हुआ है, कल जाके एसएमएस दे रहा है, इसमें क्या फायदा? So this is a kind of immediate action. This is not a part of time dependent action. Okay. Then second, what is the action? What you want to do? We want to fire one email. We want to give one email. And that is why the action type is immediate, but the name of action is what? Email alert. And what is the prerequisite? The prerequisite is that we must have an email template. Based on the lead object, we must have an email template. So let me go to see that whether I have created any email template related to the lead object or not. So let me go to the communication templates and the classic email templates. Let me see, because we have stored everything inside this align email template folder. So for the candidate object, I created one. For the case, I created one. For the hiring manager position, I created one. But we haven't created any template related to the lead object. So we require to create a new template. First of all, as a prerequisite, we need to require an email template. So I'm creating one email template for the lead object. I'm creating one email template for the lead object. Make it available for the use. What is the name? The name is new lead creation notification what template. Okay. You can give the same description. You can give any description, whatever you want. I'm writing the same as description. Now, what about the subject and email? So actually, I have done homework and I created the subjects, and the content I have already created. So I'm just copying and pasting it over here. So I'm copying this subject and then I'm copying this email content. Let me just copy and paste it over there. So yeah, and then you know that we need to make some formatization over here. That is something which is manual. So I need to format it. Let me see whether the formatting is required or not. Please contact the below address. I think this is good. वो ठीक ही दिख रहा है. So I'm not making any formatting. Let me just save this. So what I created a email template. I created an email template related to the what lead object. I'm not going to test it from here. No, 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 no. I'm not going to test it because ये हम तब करते थे because when we were planning this as a manual process. Now this the same thing I'm going to do it automatically. As soon as one lead is created, as soon as one lead is created with this email template, with the lead first name and the last name, with all the details of the lead, lead ID, first name, last name, company, whatever the fields. With all these detail, one email is going to be fired automatically. I am not going to test it manually. No, I created one email template with the name called as new lead creation notification template. Okay. So now let me create this workflow. Okay. So for creating the workflow, you need to follow this navigation. Okay. We need to follow this navigation. Same I'm demonstrating over here. So let me go to the setup menu. Inside the setup menu, go to the build menu. Inside the build menu, you need to expand the create. Below the create, inside the create, you have this option workflows and the approvals. Just expand this option and you have in the beginning itself, you have workflows. Okay. So click on the workflow. Okay. Now, here is the list of all workflow rules that is you have created. Now, since we have not created any for the first time, we are creating this. So that is why the list is blank. Could be a sample workflow. Achha, last time I created this. Let me delete this first of all. Okay, let me delete this. And now let me create a new rule. On which object? See, every workflow must be created on the object. Selecting an object is mandatory over here. You see, the selecting of the object is mandatory. Here it is like, it's a red symbol. And that clearly indicates that we cannot go further. We cannot go further without selecting any object. If I try to click the next button, it is going to give me the error. No, you cannot move further without selecting an object. That is why I tell this statement. The workflows are always created on objects. That is why I told this statement, the workflows are always created on the object. So here we have everything written with us. We have done the homework. We know the name of the object. We need to create this on the lead. And so let me select the lead from here. Let me select the lead. I selected the lead object. Let me click on the next button. Give the rule name. So I follow this naming convention. It is what? It's a new lead creation notification. I created email template with the name called template at the end. Right now I'm creating one workflow rule. So I used to write down rule at the name. Okay. When I create the process builder, I write down the process like that. This is my naming convention. You can follow anything, whatever. Let me just copy and paste it over here also. Now select the evaluation criteria. See, there are three criteria. There are three different criteria. Created and every time it is edited, created and any time it is edited to the subsequently meeting the criteria. That's it. Out of these three, what we want, whenever a lead record is created only. Whenever a lead record is created only, we should fire the rule. That is why I'm selecting created only, right? Now, mentioning a rule criteria is, what is a rule criteria? Now let's discuss this. I already have mentioned it over here. No, I already have mentioned this rule criteria. Where, yeah. But let me discuss what is the importance of rule criteria. First of all, let me tell you one thing. See, after this workflows, you are going to learn process builders. Okay, the next topic after this is the process builder. Process builder is also a kind of business automation tool. The same is the workflow. But then a process builder is far advanced. Process builder have few more facilities as compared to the workflows. Now, what you need to write down is that You need to write down the differences between the process builder and the workflows. You need to write it down. The same, the way you write it down, the differences between this lookup and the master detail relationship. They probably ask you this also. What is the difference between this lookup and the workflows and the process builder? So start writing it from here. I mean, I'm going to give you the points right now. I'm giving you first point as a difference between these two. Let me give you the very first point. Okay. So start writing from this moment only. Although we have not seen process builder, we are about to see it. Don't worry. In the coming few days, we are going to learn the process builder also. But then let me discuss whenever the point comes. Let me discuss. Let me tell you the point, and you please write the point. Okay. So selecting a rule criteria. The point number one is what? Selecting a rule criteria inside the workflow is important. Is mandatory. At least one rule criteria should be selected. This you can ignore. This you can ignore. This you can ignore. This you can ignore. But this you can't ignore. Because see, it has mentioned this is red lines means it's a mandatory field. You cannot go further without selecting at least one rule criteria. At least one rule criteria. Now, what you need to write down is that inside the workflow, selecting at least one rule criteria is mandatory. Inside the workflow, selecting at least one rule criteria is mandatory. Inside the workflow, selecting one rule criteria is mandatory. Inside the process builder, it is not. Process builder, even in the process builder, can be set up without selecting a rule criteria. We are going to see this later. But right now, what you see is that without selecting any rule criteria, we cannot set up. We should at least select one rule criteria. One rule condition must be met. One rule condition must be met. We should at least mention one rule criteria. Okay. Rule conditions to be met or formulas to be evaluated. These are the conditions. Without this, we cannot go further. So, selecting at least one rule criteria is compulsory, is mandatory in the workflow. And it is not at all in the process builder. ये बात की बात है. ठीक है. What should be the rule criteria in that case? अब ये कैसे judge करेंगे यार? Let me show you something. I have this lead object. What we are discussing? We are discussing that whenever someone go and click this new button, and whenever someone, whenever someone enters by entering few records inside this fields, whenever someone save a lead record, a new lead record, he should immediately get one email on this email ID, whatever he entered over here. He should get one email as an acknowledgement. As an acknowledgement, he should be notified with one email. That is what we are planning. That is what the business requirement we are having. And this is the business automation that for which we are writing the workflow. This is the requirement. Let me tell you this. Now see, I told you one thing, I asked you one thing, you thought of this and give me the answer. This email field over here is not a compulsory field, first of all. You can see it. This email field is not at all compulsory over here. If I want to store anything as a lead, I could enter something over here. Even I couldn't enter, if I want, I can skip this also. I without writing any email address, even I could save the data. Why? Because this is not a mandatory field, right? This is not a mandatory field. So giving the email ID is something which is optional over here. Giving the email ID, giving the email ID for this particular record, whatever I'm storing it right now, is an optional field. Because this is not a mandatory. Yeah, leads. This is what the mandatory. This is the mandatory. These two fields are mandatory. There are few more fields which would be mandatory. But definitely for sure, this email field is not at all mandatory. Okay. So even I could store a lead record without writing anything inside. I could keep this as a blank. And even I would be able to store a new lead record. Right. Now see, if I want, what I'm designing, we are designing a workflow. We are designing a workflow based whenever a new lead record has been inserted, we are going to fire one email on this. We are going to fire one email on this email ID. Problem ये है कि यहाँ पे कुछ है ही नहीं. But see, workflow is going to be fired. Remember, workflow will going to be fired. It is going to work according to the business automation. It is going to work according to the business automation. अगर आप ये check नहीं करोगे कि whether this field is empty or it is having some email ID, workflow to fire hoga. Workflow is definitely going to be fired, and it is going to send one email. अब वो email कहाँ जाएगा? कहीं नहीं जाएगा. And this problem is called as null pointer exception. कि the automation is fired automation is fired, but it doesn't perform any action. This is the problem called as null pointer exception. और इसमें क्या हुआ पता है क्या? You have wasted one resource. You have wasted one resource. I told you one thing in the beginning when we were discussing the governor limits. Let me show you that. If we were discussing the governor limits, inside the unlimited edition, although we can send 20 lakhs of the email, inside the free developer account, we can send 300 emails in a 24 hours frame. Okay, let's talk about the developer edition only because that is the one we are using. So I wasted one email notification out of 300 email that I could send in a time frame of 24 hours. I have just wasted one email because my lead record doesn't contains any email ID, but my workflow will fire one email. And it is never it is going to mention that out of 300, I have used one. I have used one, and that one is wasted. So to avoid this problem, to avoid this, we should set up some conditions. We should set up some condition and we should see whether the email field is there or not. If the email field is not empty, let me tell you that only in that case, fire this rule. If the email is empty, don't fire the workflow. Simply, don't waste the resources. Don't waste the resources. Don't go to that null pointer exception problem. If the email field is empty, don't fire the rule. In short, fire this rule whenever this email has some email ID. This email has some email ID, then only fire the workflow. Otherwise, don't fire the workflow. Let the record to be saved. Record save होने दीजिए. Let record जो है उसको save होने दीजिए without firing a workflow, without giving the acknowledgement on the email. ठीक है, तो ये दो चीजें. And this is something called as rule condition. So I am checking for the lead's email ID. I'm checking for this particular field. What is the field? Before firing this rule, before firing this workflow, what I want to check whether the lead's email ID field should not equals to what? Keep it blank. Don't write anything over here. Don't write null, don't write anything. Just keep it blank. So what we want, I want to fire this workflow rule only and only when the email ID is not equals to blank. That means email ID has some email. And if it is blank, don't fire the rule. Please don't fire the rule. Don't waste the resources, right? That is why selecting a rule criteria is essentially important. Okay, this is what the rule criteria, and that is the same thing I have mentioned it over here. वही same चीज मैं बता रहा था कि rule condition क्या है कि the lead email ID should not equals to null. To avoid the null pointer exception, we are writing all this. Okay, so the email ID should not equals to null. Save and next. Now you need to select the action over here. This is the step number 2. This is what? This is step number 2. Select the action. What kind of action? Out of these two, time dependent and the immediate. When we want to fire the email, we are about to fire the email. When? Immediately or time dependent? Immediately or periodically? We want it to be immediate. And so these are the two different blocks. These are the two separate blocks over here. Here I should add all immediate action. Here I should add all time dependent action. This is the second block. These are the two separate blocks over here. These are the two separate blocks. Here you need to add all of the immediate actions, whatever you want. Here you should add all of the time dependent actions, what you want. So first of all, what type of action we want? We want immediate action. We want immediate action. So we are going to work in this block only. Right now for this example, probably in the next example, I could plan for some time dependent, but at least for this example, what we are going to work, we are going to work inside this block only. We are going to add the immediate actions, not the time dependent. So we are going to work inside this and we are not going to see this block. Later in the second example, probably we could say it. Abhi to nahi dekhenge at least. Okay. So I want one immediate actions to be fired. And so I'm selecting this immediate action. Now let's talk about one governor limit over here. Okay. Iske baad chalo. Pehle ye kar lete hain, fir iske baad. Let me add one action. What type of action? What type of action? Using the workflow, you can send an email alert. You can update a field. You can assign a new task to a user. You can send the outbound messages to external system. Select any existing action, or rather इनमें से जो कोई action पहले से add हुई है वही add कर लो फिर से. And duplicate बोलते हैं, duplicate action create करना. तो work using the workflow, what are the actions you can perform? You can send one email. That is what we want. We can update a field. Second example probably like this. We can assign a new task and then we can send the outbound messages also. We can send the outbound messages also. So for this example, I want this email alert. So I selected this email. Give any description. Okay. So what is going to, I want this new lead creation notification alert. This is something called as email alert. Creating an email alert. Okay. Creating an email alert. So what do I want? A new lead creation notification alert. If it's a template, I call this template. If it's a workflow, I call this rule. If it's a process, I call this process. If it's alert, I call this alert. ठीक है, that's it. On which object? देखो object इसने ले लिया. अब कौन सी template चाहिए आपको? तो we already have created one template for this new lead creation notification template. Now let me select that template. You know यहाँ पे देखो आप selecting a template is mandatory. There's a lookup icon for this. My template is presently in align. ठीक है. I created this new lead creation notification template. Let me select. ठीक है. एंड देन हियर व्हाट यू नीड टू सिलेक्ट कि आपको कहाँ भेजना है, कौन सी ऑब्जेक्ट पे, मतलब आई मीन एक्चुअली यहाँ पे ना वो सारी लिख के आती हैं जहां जहां पर ईमेल फील्ड है, जहां जहां पर ईमेल इनसाइड द यूजर वी हैव ईमेल, तो क्रिएटर, ईमेल ओनर, पब्लिक, तो ये सब चीज रोल सबऑर्डिनेट, इन सब में ईमेल होती है, ईमेल फील्ड होती है, जहां पर भी ईमेल फील्ड होती है वो सारी यहाँ पे लिस्ट आउट होती है, वो सारे ऑब्जेक्ट. यू जस्ट नीड टू सिलेक्ट ईमेल फील्ड. डोंट गेट योरसेल्फ कंफ्यूज, जस्ट सिलेक्ट ईमेल फील्ड. Out of this pick list menu, from this all options from the pick list menu, just select email field. Just select email field. Just select email field. So what it is going to give? Email field from the lead object. This is the email field. Email field of the lead object. Email field of the lead object. Okay. Email field of the lead object. Available, added, selected for the recipient. ठीक है. So whenever I create any lead record, I write down any email ID over here, and when I save it, one record is going to be fired on this particular email ID. ठीक है. And out from this एक तो इसको मिलेगा, and you can add up to 5 CC copies. Someone has asked me this question कि sir, when we are learning this template, तो someone has asked me कि एक से ज्यादा नंबर भेज सकते हैं, तो that time I told it कि एक से ज्यादा मतलब एटलीस्ट 6 लोग को भेज सकते हैं, 1 मेन और 5 CC. So now do one thing, all of you, go to this chat bot में 5 लोग अपने email ID मेरे को दो जरा सा. 5 of you just give me your email IDs. मैं उनको CC कॉपी जाएगी ये वाली. So that along with me, you can also cross verify this. Just 5 email IDs, quick. Make it quick. Shweta has given the email ID. I'm just copying and pasting over here. हो गया, काफी है. Second is Rahul, and third is this file. Anjali, number 4. ये 2 बार हो गया ये. File, I think I have not copied. File, and then someone mic is again on. Who is this? Please take care of it.
Sir, it's Shweta. Sir, it's Shweta. Actually, वो @gmail के बीच में space है. That should be.
ठीक है, चलो. Now since you guys has given me ID, तो अभी आपकी ये 5 IDs मैं अपने पास रख रहा हूँ, और ये हमेशा यूज करूंगा मैं. अब जितनी भी CCs हैं आप लोग को भी आएंगे. ठीक है, तो 1 2 3 4 5. चलो चलिए. तो अपार्ट फ्रॉम मी, जो मैं ईमेल आईडी यहाँ डालूंगा, उस ईमेल आईडी के साथ में दीज वेर द 5 पीपल्स दैट आर गोइंग टू गेट दिस ईमेल. ठीक है, दीज आर द 5 पीपल्स दैट आर गोइंग टू गेट दिस एज अ CC कॉपी. नाउ हु आर दे? ये कौन लोग हैं जिनको CC कॉपी मिलती है? दिस इज वन इंटरव्यू क्वेश्चन. ठीक है. Inside the workflow, whenever you find and you fire one email, you can give up to 5, you can provide CC copy up to 5 email address. Who are those person who got this email? So this could be your managers. Answer क्या दे सकते हैं? First of all, this could be the managers, this could be the stakeholders, this could be the customers also. ठीक है. इवन द सबऑर्डिनेट्स आल्सो, इवन अवर सबऑर्डिनेट्स आल्सो. ये कोई भी हो सकते हैं, ये 5 लोग कोई भी हो सकते हैं. ये हमारे मैनेजर्स हो सकते हैं, ये हमारे क्लाइंट्स हो सकते हैं, ये हमारे स्टैक होल्डर्स हो सकते हैं, या ये हमारे साथ काम करने वाले सबऑर्डिनेट्स भी हो सकते हैं. ठीक है. ये क्वेश्चन पूछा था एक बार, दैट इज व्हाई आई एम मेंशनिंग दिस, कि आपको कंफ्यूज नहीं होना चाहिए. सो लेट मी सेव दिस. तो अब ये क्या हुआ कि आई हैव एडेड वन इमीडिएट एक्शन inside this block, inside this block of immediate actions, I have added one immediate action. This is number one. This is number one. I can even add one more. देखो यहाँ पे ये block दिख रहा है. I can even add one more. Now let's talk about the governor limit. How many immediate actions you can add? So let's come to the governor limit. Where is 105? Let's come to the governor limit. मैंने कहा था कि ये चीजें जब मैं practically समझाऊंगा. A workflow can have maximum 40 immediate actions. Workflow can have maximum 40. ये क्या है? Time dependent जब आएगा तब पढ़ेंगे. But at least ये पढ़ो अभी. The workflow rule can have maximum 40 immediate action. That means I have added one. I can even add 39 more. I can in total I can add 40 immediate actions inside the workflow. I can add one more action. Okay. After this, I can add one more action. I can add one more action. So in altogether, I can add 40 immediate actions that can be added, inside the workflow in a single workflow rule. This is the workflow rule what we are creating. This is the name of this workflow rule. New lead creation notification rule. Inside this workflow, I am adding the immediate action. I already added one. 39 more I can add. In total, I can add 40 immediate actions. That is what the governor limits. Okay. Make it done. And see, the rule is not activated. The rule is not activated. You additionally required to click this button to make it active. You additionally required to make it active. You additionally required to make it active. How many rules that you can create inside one object? An object can have maximum 500 rules. I created this workflow rule. On which object? I created on the lead object. I have just now created one workflow rule on lead object. How many workflows that I can create on the lead? I can create total 500 rules. I can create total 500 workflow rules on any object. Lead, account, contact, hiring manager, position. On any object, let's discuss this. On any object, you can at max create 500 workflow rules. But not all of them are going to be active. Not all of them are going to be activated. Out of that 500, you can only activate 50 rules at a time. Rest 450 must be in the deactivated state. Okay. And inside an organization, so for one object, you have 50 rules that can be activated. For an organization, you could maximum have 2000 activated rules, not more than that. This is the governor limit. This is the governor limit of the workflow. And remember, every governor limit is important. You must learn this. You must learn this all governor limits related to everything, related to object creation, related to field creation, related to the application creation. Whatever you have learned everywhere in the Salesforce, there is a governor limit. For everything, there is a governor limit. You must learn that. Okay. So we can create 500 workflow rule for an object. But out of that 500, not 500 of all is going to be activated. Only 50 rules can be activated in a time. And an organization can maximum have 2000 activated rules, not more than that. So just now I created one rule, but this is not activated. By default, any workflow rule is not activated. You need to click this activate button to make it active. See, now it is active. Now the workflow is activated and we are about to test this. अब हम इसको test करेंगे. How to test this? Let's go to the lead object. Let's create a new lead record over here. Let's create a new lead record. So let me go to this. The first name is test lead. Record from the workflows. Number 1. What is the company? Company is ABC entitlement. Phone number, I could give any number over here, like this is. Mobile number, I could give any number like this. Fax, I could give any number like this. Email, I want to give any email where I could give this email ID जो मुझे email आना चाहिए. So let me go with this email ID. SFDC Qasim@gmail. I could give any website. Status is open, not contracted. Let me give any test.com. Rating is hot, number of employees like this. Title is could be software developer. Lead source is web. Campaign, if you want to give campaign, otherwise leave it. Industry is what? This is the annual revenue. Product interest, this is the product SIC code, something, you know, if you want to give the description, otherwise all. Okay. With all these details, let me save a record. And as soon as I save this, it is going to first of all evaluate the rule condition, whether the email ID should not equals to blank. Yes, email ID is not blank. When the email ID is not blank, तो इसके backend में workflow fire होगा. What the workflow is going to give? Well, workflow will fire one email on this email ID. It is going to give me all these leads, you know, वही template के हिसाब से, जो template ये हमने बनाई है ना, ये template के हिसाब से we are going to get this response. ठीक है, तो हम इसको यहाँ से टेस्ट नहीं कर रहे हैं. We are not testing it from here. वो मैनुअल था, दिस नाउ वी आर टेस्टिंग इट ऑटोमेटिकली. ठीक है, कैसे? जस्ट सेव इट. यू सेव दिस, वन वर्कफ्लो हैज बीन फायर्ड. वर्कफ्लो ने ईमेल फायर कर दिया. लेट्स कम टू दिस ईमेल आईडी एंड सी वेदर वी गॉट दिस. सी, ट्रेनिंग माय सेल्सफोर्स से ईमेल आ गया. कांग्रेचुलेशंस, टेस्ट लीड रिकॉर्ड फ्रॉम वर्कफ्लो 1, योर रिकॉर्ड हैज बीन क्रिएटेड सक्सेसफुली. एंड along with me you guys also have got this. देखो आप लोग के भी ईमेल आईडी दिख रही है यहाँ पे, तो आप सभी को भी ईमेल आया होगा. चेकआउट, चेक करो आप लोग को ईमेल आया है क्या. यस यू गॉट इट. ठीक है, तो आप लोगों को भी ये ईमेल आया है. तो दिस इज व्हाट द सीसी वे. अलॉन्ग विद दिस ये है 4-5 लोग, 4 ही आईडी से 5 होनी चाहिए थी. एनीवे, तो इन सभी लोगों को ये ईमेल आ चुका है विद ऑल दिस डिटेल. यू इवन गाइस गॉट इट, गॉट द ईमेल आईडी. ठीक है, तो दिस इज द वे, दिस इज द वे दैट the emails are fired automatically from the Salesforce. This is the way that emails are fired automatically from the Salesforce with the help of workflow. And this is thing called as business automation. तो 4 चीजें होती हैं, 4 चीजें होती हैं, जिसमें से पहली आज आपने पढ़ा ईमेल अलर्ट. So I'm giving you few assignments right now. ठीक है, एक दिन एक ही रूल पढ़ेंगे हम, एक दिन में 2 रूल नहीं पढ़ेंगे. ठीक है, हम एक दिन में एक ही रूल पढ़ेंगे. सो आई एम गिविंग यू these 3 questions as an assignment and you guys keep my email ID in CC now. ठीक है, तो मुझे भी आप CC में रखेंगे on this email ID so that मुझे पता चले कि किसने सॉल्व किया और किसने नहीं सॉल्व किया. So configure the workflow on the contact object. Everything has been mentioned, even evaluation criteria दे दिया है मैंने. Evaluation criteria created every time. So read this problem and accordingly decide it. So today I'm going to end it. By tomorrow and start with the next is time dependent actions. ठीक है, एक दिन में एक चीज पढ़ेंगे हम लोग, एक दिन में 2 चीजें नहीं पढ़ेंगे. बस